Astroworld festival event. The crowd began to compress towards the front of the stage.
Like, help! Oh, we need somebody to help him. Somebody passed out right here.
What we know is 8 confirmed fatalities, several injuries.
That's okay, real quick.
It felt like we was in a concert in hell. You couldn't breathe, you couldn't see. Like that was like some demonic shit.
Stop the show! Stop the show! Stop the show! Stop the show! Stop the show!
One of the narratives was that some individual was injecting other people with drugs. One of the narratives was that some individual was injecting other people with drugs.
So, I'm sure most of you have heard by now the really tragic news that 8 fans of Travis Scott unfortunately died on Saturday in his admitted to hospital for their injuries as well. And as of yet, it's not actually confirmed as to what the cause of death for all of these people was. It makes sense that it was most probably due to just the crowd density.
8 confirmed fatalities, several injuries, and we're working on making sure that we provide all the information we can to the community.
Which resulted in people getting trampled and not being able to breathe due to the pressure of people moving from both forward and backwards, causing their lungs to almost collapse. And members of the crowd were shouting to try and get medics' attention throughout the show, as you can see in this clip.
Stop the show! Stop the show! Stop the show! Stop the show!
Okay, real quick. Chase me, let's do it. Just bring your girl, feel like she both are. Your black nigga run to the ocean. So how we here, trapped on the ocean.
However, there have been several reports, such as this one to TMZ, where a source connected to Astroworld tells TMZ that someone in the crowd went crazy and began injecting people with some sort of drug, which caused panic and then a surge. The source says authorities are trying to determine if those who went into cardiac arrest were the ones injected. We're told one of those who died is a 10-year-old. The source says it appears to be a targeted attack. We have not confirmed this report, but the source is a key person involved in the festival. And what that source says aligns with what this Houston police officer Tony Finner said, which is that one of the narratives was that some individual was injecting other people with drugs. He confirmed an incident at the festival where a member of security felt a prick in his neck after trying to restrain a concert goer. So I find that really scary, the fact that they were actually targeting the security guards first. But the article goes on to say that Mr. Finner said the security officer went unconscious and was revived, presumably meaning he wouldn't have survived if they hadn't have revived him, with several doses of Narcan, which is used for the treatment of suspected opioid overdoses, so presumably that's what he was injected with. Medical staff said the neck injury suffered by the member of security was similar to a prick that you would get if somebody tried to inject, the police chief said. So that does point to maybe him being injected in the neck. And the other weird thing is that the other chief of police from Houston, who was actually near the front when the tragedy unfolded, said it all happened at once, which isn't typical for how a trampling or a stampede kind of event occurs at an event like this. Someone else at the festival, an official, said that whilst medical units were on the scene checking around 300 people throughout the day, they became quickly overwhelmed by the incident. So again, this shows that it all happened very suddenly, which kind of leads more to the injection theory for me, but I don't know, maybe it could have been a combination of both. People panicking, seeing people go down because of these injections, causing more people to start pushing their way, trying to get either to the front to Travis or out, and it just became just too many people pushing either which way and people in the middle getting crushed. The medics go on to describe how it seemed like it happened with just over the course of a few minutes. Suddenly we had several people down on the ground experiencing some type of cardiac arrest or some type of medical episode, he said. We immediately started doing CPR, and that's when I went and met with the promoters and Live Nation, and they agreed to end early in the interest of public safety. Houston Police Chief Troy Finner has asked for calm, saying that people should not jump to conclusions as to what may have caused the crowd surge. Which kind of says to me they're at least considering the possibility of it being substance abuse, or at least substance induced. But a lot of people are really upset because there's lots of moments where people have caught on camera that the fans were shouting out to Travis, either asking for medics, asking him to stop, or just simply asking for help, and no one was doing anything. And some points you can even see Travis actually seeing and watching these people being carried out, such as this clip.
Okay, we see real quick. Chase me, let's do it.
So as you can see, Travis seems to kind of take a look over and seems to notice what's going on, but just kind of carries on singing. And I think we all are hoping just that he didn't understand or didn't know what was going on, or maybe just didn't know and understand the severity of it. Maybe because of concerts like this, people often die due to heat exhaustion, or just because they've taken some sort of drug or alcohol and they just pass out, and he maybe thought it was just, you know, one of the regular things. He didn't know how serious it was getting. But either way, it's quite unsettling to see him just turn around, carrying on singing. But it is now officially a criminal investigation, so they're going to be looking into how the whole event was laid out, what security they had in place, and probably the capacity, whether they actually did overbook it, since capacity is deemed to be one of the most risk-centric things when it comes to stampedes and comes to trampling events, such as the one that seemed to have happened at Travis's event. However, I have actually found articles and clips of him actually encouraging the crowd to either get really angry and ignore security, or in this clip I'm about to show you, himself actually encourages the crowd to basically attack and beat up one of his alleged fans.
Yeah, she smoked it. Swear to God, we go around, but let's go. Into disrespect. Straight from Mexico, call her Quintana. Come here, bitch. Smoke my Get that motherfucker, get him. You tried to take my shoe? You wanna be a thief? Fuck him up, fuck him up, fuck him up. Fuck him up, fuck him up, fuck him up. Get him out of here. Get him out of here. Boo! 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 Fuck his ass up.
So as you can see, this was back in 2020, and he clearly has a means and a way to get his fans riled up in a way that he wants them to mirror the energy and the passion he has for his music, but it sometimes seems to go into more of an argumentative and definitely more aggressive, because as you can see in this guy, someone tried to steal his shoes, and he basically encouraged everyone nearby him, his whole fan base, to go and attack this kid. And the security guards didn't even seem that bothered. They weren't trying to discourage him or trying to persuade him to get down and stop doing that. You can't just send everyone to attack this poor kid who's probably just, I don't know, trying to get something to sell on eBay or Amazon or something. And then he ended up punching him or throwing whatever he threw there, and then spat on him later on, and threw something to him later on when he was getting back onto the stage. So the security guards eventually pull this poor kid over the bar, as you can see, and this is where Travis tries to spit on him. And it's just bizarre to me that he thinks he can treat his fans like that. That's the spit. Yeah, in other moments he says that he is all about his fans, so that doesn't quite add up to me. Because in this article posted a couple of days ago, it says that Travis Scott's whole aesthetic is about rebellion. The shows have a lot of raging. With the death of punk rock, hip hop has indeed adopted and patterned the new generation of mosh pits. It's not uncommon to see a lot of crowding and raging or complete wild behaviour at a Travis Scott show. It goes on to highlight that he always tries to really rile up the crowd, and that makes for some really fun shows and a couple of scary incidents. And in 2017, Scott was actually arrested after he encouraged fans to bypass security and rush the stage, leaving a security guard, a police officer, and several others injured. And in a separate incident, he was sentenced to 1 year of court supervision after pleading guilty to reckless conduct charges stemming from a 2015 incident in Chicago. At the Lollapalooza Music Festival, at the time, Chicago officials said Scott encouraged fans to vault security barricades. However, luckily no one was injured this time. But again, that shows that he does have a pattern of kind of encouraging his fans to push beyond behaviour that could get them in harm's way, which unfortunately this time it did. And as you can see here, fans, they were meant to be queuing up, but they trampled over all of the security guards and over the barriers in this event just as well. And I don't think this time it was on the instructions of Travis Scott, but the same event still occurred, and it's maybe because they knew that he would have been okay with it. I don't know. Either way, it's just terrifying to see all these people climb over one another and literally trample over each other, especially like trampling over the people that are there to protect them, the security guards. Because others have posted this following clip I'm about to play, where they say that they feel he was encouraging again for his fans to disregard and cause further disruption when the paramedics were trying to get through, since he tells them things like raise your hands up, put your hands in the air, fingers to the sky, telling them he wants the ground to shake, and people feel that he was trying to again get this energy all hyped up, when at this point it was serious enough that people needed to probably disperse from the area and just calm down.
What the fuck is that? If everybody good, put a middle finger up in the sky. Okay, where my guy, man? Come on. Yeah, all that. 2 hands to the sky. 2 hands to the sky.
2 hands up, y'all, 2 hands up.
Y'all know what y'all came to do. Chase me, let's go.
Whoa.
I wanna make this motherfucking ground shake, goddammit.
Whoa.
Here we go. Here we go. Here we go. 5, 4, yeah. Pull out the sound. Pull out the round.
And it was clear that at least some people had a disregard for the security and the paramedics that were trying to help them, because as you can see here, some of them actually climbed on top of the vehicles of the paramedics that were trying to help other people who were in desperate situations. These aren't the best quality videos and footages, but as you can see, there's cars with people climbing on top of them, or at least very much in the way of them. And this was all due to him riling up the crowd still when it was clear that there was a problem. But here's a short clip of someone who was actually at the event and was truly fearing for his life, and said that he felt it was almost like a demonic energy was present.
It just felt like we was like literally like in hell, bro. Like it felt like we was in a concert in hell. You couldn't breathe, you couldn't see. Like just imagine all the people they gonna find tonight who was in that crowd, who nobody could see, who nobody could hear, who passed out, and everybody was just trampling on top of them the whole concert. Like I'm thinking it's probably gonna be like at least 100 people who dead tonight. Like I kid you not, like in the VIP section, it was so many bodies laid out. People was getting pulled out who was fainted, and the medics were trying to give them CPR, and they was flipping them over, and like they was literally turning black and blue. Like I never seen death in my life, bro. Just by me alone, it was probably like 10 people laid out dead. And like once the medics tried to help them, they wasn't responding. They moved to the next person. It was nothing they could do. Like that was like some demonic shit. And what was so crazy, like people were screaming help, trying to tell Travis Scott. They was like help. The whole crowd was just going like help.
That's just so
going,
traumatic.
Like,
I can't imagine what these people are going to have to live through.
Tonight, like,
and
real.
The fact that this was all going on with children as young as 5 at the concert, and according to some reports, the youngest to have died was a 14-year-old and a 16-year-old. There was another report saying it was a 10-year-old. Like, either way, no matter the ages, one too many persons who have passed is far too many. And I think what makes it just so much more extreme, this all could have been avoided. And can you only imagine how helpless this poor little boy would have felt if he was caught in all of this trampling? He wouldn't have stood a chance. And I think that's probably what happened. If this substance abuse and drugs and all of that was involved, people most probably would have been unable to stand up and would have been falling on the floor, and then others would have just trampled over them. And even in other concerts, Travis is known to say things like, "Don't listen to security, forget security, this is for y'all, this is for the fans," he continued. With regards to last night, that's an example of how things can go wrong. There's a lot of negligence across the board. I don't think there's one bad guy or culprit. It's a sweeping structural failure of what happened. And to be fair, I do agree. I don't think you can just solely blame Travis, because he wasn't the only performer. Drake performed with him as well, so it's not like it was solely on him, and it's not him who's meant to be organising the safety and security. It probably is down to him, maybe just to ensure that his management is doing everything above board, since his name and his face is on all of it, and people are going to now associate this with him. But I don't think you can actually blame him solely for it. But I do think it's fair for people to be upset to see these clips of him seemingly being able to see and like recognize that there was something going on and just turn around and carry on singing. But like I said, there's probably things like this go on very frequently in events where people get rowdy because of drugs and alcohol, and it's just part of the thing. You just have to carry on, the show must go on. I suppose it was probably more so down to his team not informing him that there was something incredibly serious going on. It actually needed to stop much sooner than it did. Because the way that people die in these types of events is either through they're often getting squeezed so hard that they can't get any oxygen, and it's usually not necessarily because they're being trampled. When crowd surges, the force can be strong enough to bend steel. It can also hit people from 2 directions. One from the rear and one from the crowd pushing forward, and the other from behind. And so if someone does actually fall, this could cause a pile-up where pressure can become even more intense and actually start coming from above as well as in all of the directions surrounding you. And these people unfortunately are caught in the middle, not knowing where to go and unable to move. And something incredibly similar to this, known as the Hillsborough tragedy in the UK, was basically in a football ground where 50,000 fans streamed into the stadium for a soccer match on a warm sunny day, and some of them packed into a tunnel and were getting pressed so hard into the perimeter fencing that their faces got distorted by the mesh. And other listed causes of death actually included things like inhalation of stomach contents, so they must have been squeezed so hard that their organs had nowhere to go, that the contents of the stomach actually came up and into their mouth, and they couldn't actually open their mouth to let it out, so they ended up breathing it in. God, this is just so horrific. Here's a first-hand account of a nurse who was actually there and herself tried to help other people, but in the process actually passed out because she couldn't breathe. She goes on to explain just how few paramedics there actually were available to help all of these people suffering.
Experience before you passed out.
I was very anxious. I could feel, myself losing the ability to breathe. It was really hard with the amount of people around me. I remember feeling, right before I passed out, I tried to turn my head to tell my boyfriend. I couldn't turn my head, but I tried to tell him I really was going to have him tell my son that I loved him, because I honestly did not think I was going to make it out of there. I'm not trying to be dramatic. I straight up thought I was going to die.
Well, I don't think that's being dramatic because there were people that lost their life that night, as I'm sure you know. You are an ICU nurse. You deal with tragedy and probably emergency situations like this on a regular basis. When you regained consciousness, what did you do next and what was happening around you?
I woke up, and I remember I woke up in an unfamiliar area. I think I was put in the VIP section behind general admission. I woke up with a water bottle in my lap, and I looked around and I watched. They were dropping people off, going back to get more people out of the crowd. I noticed one younger guy looked real bad. Eyes rolled back of his head, and I stopped the security guy that was about to put him down. I said, have you checked a pulse? He said, no, I don't know. How can you help me? I said, yeah, I'm an ICU nurse. Let me take a look really quick. Did not feel a pulse. I said, hey, don't put him down. You need to go take him to a medical tent. I said, get him out of here. Another security guard overheard me say I was an ICU nurse, and he said, hey, can you come help us?
So for the volume of people that were there and your expertise as someone who works in the medical field, do you feel that there were enough medical resources available?
Not even a little bit. When I followed the security guard that said, can you come help me, after he heard I was a nurse, I followed him, and I mean, the situation I saw was absolutely traumatic. I mean, as someone who watches people, I deal with CPR on a weekly basis. Like, this was absolutely insane. I walk up and there's 3 people and maybe 4 or 5 medical staff doing compressions, doing CPR on people, and my mind was blown. I said, when was the last pulse check? I immediately jumped in and tried to help. For the situation that we had going on with more people getting pulled over that were unresponsive, unconscious, we had one AED, which is the pads that go on your chest that shock a heart back into a normal rhythm. There was only one. There was one bag that's the mask you put over the face and you squeeze the air into, breathes for them. There was one of those. There was one stretcher, and we had when I walked up, there were 3 people, probably 4 or 5 by the end of it, in cardiac arrest in front of me.
I think there's a lot of us that obviously weren't there that night wondering how something like this even happens. You've been to events like this before. Do you have any idea what led to this chaos? Why did the crowd begin to surge? What started all of this?
People just rushing the stage to see Travis. I've been to the past 2 Astroworld festivals. I've been to rap concerts. I've been to Travis Scott concerts. Happens. People rush the stage. No big deal. I mean, it's uncomfortable. Yeah, some people do get hurt, but this was way overcrowded. I've never seen anything like it. I've never felt like I was gonna die. I mean, it was absurd, and there was so little resources. I mean, the medics that were trying to help didn't look like a lot of them had been properly trained. That's not to take away from what they were doing.
And as I suppose this woman's story actually probably goes against the needle in the neck theory.
One of the narratives was that some individual was injecting other people with drugs. We do have a report of a security officer, according to the medical staff that was out and treated him last night, that he was reaching over to restrain or grab a citizen, and he felt a prick in his neck. When he was examined, he went unconscious. They administered Narcan. He was revived, and the medical staff did notice a prick that was similar to a prick that you would get if somebody's trying to inject.
Travis Scott is reportedly completely...
Travis is actually with Kylie Jenner, and they have a 3-year-old daughter, and Kylie's actually pregnant again now, and she was there filming the event, and she posted this to her story, and people were upset that she carried on filming, posted this to her story, when you can actually see the flashing lights of the paramedics, and she did nothing. However, she has been made aware of how severe all of these events were, so she posted this apology to her story, where she says that Travis and her are broken and devastated, and her thoughts and prayers are with all who have lost their lives, whether they were injured, affected, or anywhere in yesterday's events. And also for Travis, who I know cares deeply for his fans and the Houston community, I want to make it clear that we weren't aware of any fatalities until the news came out after the show, and in no world would we have continued filming or performing. And to be fair, I do think that they probably just didn't realise the severity of the events, and Travis himself has issued an apology both on Twitter and Instagram. So the Twitter apology says, "I'm absolutely devastated by what took place last night. My prayers go out to the families and all those who've been impacted by what happened at Astroworld Festival. Houston PD has my total support as they continue to look into the tragic loss of life. I am committed to working together with the Houston community to heal and support the families in need. Thank you to Houston PD, Fire Department and NRG Park for their immediate response and support. Love you all." And here's his video response.
Send out prayers to the ones that was lost last night. We're actually working right now to identify the families so we can help assist them through this tough time. You know, my fans really mean the world to me, and I always just really want to leave them with a positive experience. And anytime I can make out, you know, anything that's going on, I stop the show and, you know, help them get the help they need, you know. I could just never imagine the severity of the situation. We've been working closely with everyone to just try to get to the bottom of this. The City of Houston, HPD, Fire Department, you know, everyone to, you know, help us figure this out. So if you have any information, you know, please just contact your local authorities. Everybody continue to just keep your prayers. I mean, I'm honestly just devastated, and I could never imagine anything like this just happening. I'm gonna do everything I can to keep you guys updated and just keep you guys informed on what's going on. Love you all.
And I haven't seen anyone else reporting on it, but I've actually just found a clip where Travis, is actually trying to get the medic's attention to try and get someone who he's saying is passed out some help. Take a look.
We need somebody to help him. Somebody passed out right here. Somebody passed out right here. Hold on, don't touch him, don't touch him. Everybody just back up. Security, somebody help, jump in real quick, keep going. Just keep it this way. Somebody jump in.
So it does seem like he was at least somewhat aware of what was going on, but like I mentioned before, he probably just thought it was the typical mosh pit environment that was going on where, you know, if you're going to have that mosh pit environment, someone is going to get hurt. So maybe he didn't, like I've mentioned before, repeating myself now, but I just don't think he realised how serious it was. But he was obviously trying to help his fans once he realised something was going on. And like Kylie had says on her Instagram post, they wouldn't have carried on if they had realised just how serious it was going on. But then you do look at his past, and he does have the behavioural pattern of kind of inciting and encouraging riled up behaviour, and kind of to the point where it gets dangerous. And unfortunately it did pass that point, and we're now having to suffer the consequences. But let me know down in the comments what you think, and if there's anything else that you thought I missed that you would have liked to have seen in the video. I'm trying to hit 2K by the end of the year, so thank you so much if you've made it to the end, and I'd really appreciate if you like and subscribe. Hopefully see you around soon, and maybe in the next one. Thank you so much. Goodbye.